Hey lovies, welcome to my channel, Craft Away with May. I'm so excited about today's video and I'm excited to have you all here because I am joining in a collab with my good friend Brandi from the DIY Struggle. I will have her information in my description box below, so check her out and tell her I said hello. Now we will be bringing you guys all things decoupage today, so sit back and enjoy as we jump into this first project. Now we do have a few challenges that we have to apply to each project today. One of the challenges are that we have to use another medium other than Mod Podge to decoupage with. So my choice was to use cling wrap. Now for my old faithfuls, you guys know I don't usually do cling wrap on my channel, but I do have experience in it. I am normally a Mod Podge and sponge kind of girl, but you guys will see that, don't worry. But we are going to start this first project off using cling wrap. So before we get started with the decoupaging piece of it, we're going to paint our pieces. Now I have this hexagon shaped vase that I received from Plaid as a gift. Then I have these two coasters that I believe I picked up from Walmart, guys. I'm not sure, but I'm painting the coasters in the color Moss by FolkArt, and I'm going to paint this vase in the color Cottage White. I'm going to give them each one coat, not to over paint them. Now if you were to decoupage, it's always better to start with a lighter color, in my opinion, or at least try to match the color up as close to whatever you're decoupaging. The only time it really doesn't matter about painting is if you're using a cloth or a piece of fabric, should I say, and if it's a dark piece of fabric, you can get away with not painting for the most part, but it's all about personal preference. And for me, I just have had better experience with using a lighter paint when I'm doing any type of napkin or tissue paper or paper decoupaging. So Cottage White is like kind of has a bluish greenish tint to it. That's what I use to cover the vase in. Now before we get started, I am going to pull out my heating pad. Now you don't have to have this. If you don't have one, you can definitely put down a towel or paper towel to protect your surface. You just don't want that high temperature heat touching your surface and possibly damaging your desk or whatever you're decoupaging on. Now I don't normally do this. I usually only have the pad out when I am doing any type of heat transfers to clothing. But I was like, you know what, I have it. I don't feel like pulling out a towel. Let me just do it this way. Now I do have a mini press. It is by Cricut, but you can order a one that is a lot cheaper on Amazon or Walmart or any other crafting place, probably Temu. They have them a lot cheaper, but this is the one I had. I've had it for years and I wasn't going to purchase a cheaper one. So I have this beautiful napkin that I picked up from Bristol Farms. Love it. I love the colors in it. It's just very calming, and I just was like, okay, I'm gonna apply this to my vase. So I ironed that down, another technique I don't normally do, because in my humble opinion, when using the sponge, it gets out majority of the wrinkles, but I'm a girl that don't mind the wrinkles. I think it adds a little character to my projects, but there are occasions where you want that nice, sharp, crisp flatness, and this will do that for you. So once I get that all painted and dried, I'm going to go in with the saran wrap. Now guys, looking back at this as I'm doing the voiceover, I should have just cut the strips down and applied it that way, but no, me being May, I decided that, hey, I'm just going to leave it on the roll and roll it out. Yeah, so I just made life a little bit more complicated than it really needed to be, but that's just how I roll. I roll like that. Okay. So before I got started with that, it a little light bulb went off, like, maybe you didn't cut the napkin down. So I had to go back, cut the napkin down, because I did have to, I wanted to not have too much of the napkin on there. And I really love this napkin too, because it just continues on. It doesn't break up, and that meant, because if it breaks up, that means you have to piece it together. And so I was super excited about that. Now, this napkin has little birds on there, as you can see, and they're absolutely adorable. So I wanted to get a bird on each piece. Now, I'm not going to decoupage the entire vase in this napkin. I'm only going to do a section. So it's going to be, one section, skip a section, one section, skip a section, so on and so forth. You guys get it, but you'll see what I'm doing as we go along. So I'm just being really careful here. Once I put that saran wrap down, I go ahead and put the napkin over it, and then I just start applying the heat. Now with the mini press, the Cricut one, it has 3 settings, the low, medium, hot. I have it on the highest temperature, but I keep it moving. And it's okay if you leave it in the spot for a few seconds. It's not going to harm the project. You will start smelling the wood, but it won't harm the project, of course, unless you leave it there way too long. But it's okay to hover for just a few seconds, but I do try to keep it moving just to make sure I'm giving it even heat throughout. And once I finish that, I just trim it down, the saran wrap and the napkin. I just trim it down because I am going to be sanding this off, but I didn't want it to accidentally fold over into the other sections. Even though I'm skipping sections, I just didn't want to run that risk of having it spill over there. So I just repeat the same process on the second side of this. And like I said, I'm going to go around. It's 6 sides to each, so it's 3 that I applied the napkin to and 3 I left as is. And so again, I'm just laying it down, making sure to get the little birdie on there in some form or of a way. And I am loving this. And guys, again, to each his own of how you decoupage. We just wanted to give you guys some fun ideas and just show you the different techniques and things that you can do to make decoupage work for you. And it's all about trial and error, because there is no right or wrong way to decoupage. It is strictly about personal preference. And I do not have anything against using the cling wrap. Now right there, what you saw I was doing is I was wiping off my mini press, because as I was doing this, the ink from the napkin was transferring over to my heat press, so I didn't want that to sit on there and possibly mess it up. So I'm just wiping it down while it's still hot, and it came right off. I had no issues with it. If you find that happens, you can always just have a wet cloth on hand, wipe it down, and you should not have any issues. My napkin was dry, and like I said, it came off with no problems. Now right here, I'm using my finger sander to remove the additional excess that was left over, and it gave it that nice, clean, crisp look, which I love. And this is just a beautiful piece. Now you can definitely seal this with more Mod Podge once it completely dries, but for the sake of the video, I did not do that. So it's something that I can go back and do at a later time. If I'm going to be keeping it for myself. If somebody else wants it, then I will seal it, but more than likely, guys, I'm probably going to leave it as is. But you definitely can seal it with more Mod Podge. The only thing is, it's going to probably give you a shinier finish. And in my humble opinion, whether it's matte or the glossy, they kind of dry the same. That's just me, okay? That's how I feel about it. And I prefer a nice, chalky finish to a lot of my projects. But again, you want to seal it, and you can also use some probably some sealant spray to do that as well. And I do have better experience with that, but the weather doesn't always permit for me to use it. But again, this is for me. I know I'm rambling, but this is for me, so it's probably going to stay like this. Now what I did was I took my distressing pad and I just highlighted those raised edges. I did not want to get any distressing on the flat surfaces because I wanted to keep this as close to the color of that napkin. And we all know that sometimes with distressing, if you go a little too heavy, it just kind of takes away from your piece. And I really did not want that. So this is a case where, less is more when it comes to distressing. Next, I'm going to go in and I'm going to use some of my heavy duty Gorilla Glue, and I'm just going to put maybe about a quarter size right in the middle. And then I'm just going to finish that off with some hot glue. So that's just going to give me my long-term and short-term hold. And I'm going to line that up with one of the coasters for the base. And guys, I love the way this assembly came together. Look how pretty that is. And I mean, I feel a spring vibe coming from it, even though it's not your traditional spring colors. I could definitely see this sitting out on a patio table. Now, I was also amazed at how snug the coaster fit into the top of the vase. I was like, okay, I see you, coaster. So what I was doing was just testing it out to see how I like it with the little knob on there. I know I probably should have did that before, but I wasn't sure. And so I wanted to test it out. I liked it. I loved it actually. And I am now just adhering it to the top piece. And I don't know, guys. I'm okay with this piece. I really love the way it came together, and you can use it as a storage or as actual flower vase. And now we are going to move on to project number 2, where I am going to be using a napkin Mod Podge on a ceramic vase. So before we bring on the vase, we're going to just go ahead and start working with this napkin. It simply says blessed on it. It is a Redondo napkin that I picked up off of VippiesDesigns.com. It is a new company that I am working with, or not working with, but I have purchased from. Let me say that we're not in affiliation together, but I have purchased from, and I am loving their selection of napkins. And so what I'm doing here is I'm just separating the plies, and that is very important in decoupage for the new, the people who are just being newly introduced to decoupaging. You have to separate the plies, whether it's 2 or 3 plies. You have to make sure you're dealing with a single ply when it comes to napkins, because it will ruin your project. It will go on all pretty and fuzzy and cute and all the things, but when that thing dries, oh, it's going to be a hot mess. Trust me. And you don't want to know how I know, but if you want me to tell you, I'll tell you, because I've done it. I've been there. I'm that person. So just take my word on this one, okay? Make sure all the plies are separated. It's in your best interest. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking my water pen and I'm just separating the parts of it I don't want. And what the water pen does is it just gives you, it helps you to get that nice rigid or raggedy, if you will, tear on your napkin. It's not so harsh like if you were to cut it. Now you can also use a paintbrush or a Q-tip, even your finger with just a little dab of water on it will do the same thing and allow you to separate it, tear it apart. But I just like the water pen because it has such a precise tip to it, and you can control the flow of water. So now here is our ceramic vase. I picked this up at Savers thrift store about a year ago, and I've had it in my stash. Like I said, about a year ago I purchased it, and I just didn't know what I want to do with it because I love the stark whiteness of it. And I'm like, but I knew I wanted some type of black font on it. I did know that, but I still just was not like, I hadn't found the perfect wording or the perfect sticker or whatever. I just hadn't found it. And when I got these napkins, I instantly knew I wanted to put them on this vase. And so what I'm doing now is taking just a little bit of Mod Podge. Now I apply my Mod Podge for the most part using the mouth swabs, which is what you see there. I do get those off of Amazon. They come about 100 in a pack for about $12-13. And I love them. They last forever. I love them. But when you're dealing with ceramic or glass, you have to put your Mod Podge on sparingly. You cannot go heavy with the Mod Podge because all it's going to do is soak up into the napkin and ruin it. It will make it easily to tear, whatever, but you don't want to overdo it because that Mod Podge has nowhere to go but through the napkin. Whereas when we're dealing with wood, the wood can soak it up, or if we're dealing with fabric, the fabric can soak it up. But glass, ceramic, and things like that's non-porous will not allow that to happen. So once we get that on, I take my sponge and I'm just pressing it down. As you guys can see there, I know it's a little sped up, but there's virtually no wrinkles present there. And I love using my sponge. Now this sponge, it came 2 in a pack, and I cannot remember from the life of me where I got it from. I want to say Walmart, but I don't know. I've had them for a couple of years and they last a long time. a really, really long time. And I love it because of the design of it. It just helps my hand when holding it, but it does the job for me. And now what you see I'm doing here is I am sealing everything up and just making sure those edges are laying down. Now, I did have a few little raised edges, but that was just my fault. And then right here, guys, I was not paying attention, and I have the napkin facing as if where the spout where you pour, you know, do the pouring. It was facing that way, guys. Yeah, that's May. That's, again, how I roll when I don't pay attention. That's what happens. So, anywho, nobody's going to see both sides. And if they do, they'll just get a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And it's still going to serve the same purpose. All right. So, the napkin had Ray Dunn's signature on it, or, trademark or whatever on it. So I was like, I thought it'd be cool to add it to the vase. Now, I am not going to be reselling this. This will be strictly in my home. So I'm not, trying to get anything over. It's just me, and it's for decor. And if you flip it over, you'll see it is clearly not Ray Dunn. All right. So next I had this little applique that I had created in a mold that I had a couple of them, or a few of them actually, sitting around because I was just playing around with it. And I was like, you know what? That would tie well into the vase too. So I decided to Mod Podge that on, or decoupage that on with my Mod Podge. So I think that can be considered decoupage, right? It doesn't have to be paper or tissue. It can be whatever. No, I just used the Mod Podge to it here. Then I went in with some lavender flowers, and that's it for that project, guys. Now, you guys know I could not go through this whole video and not use TDS Designs paper in my project. I could not do it. Okay, so I had this beautiful sheet of paper that had 4 different welcome signs on it, or designs rather, on it, and I had this pizza board as well that I picked up from Hobby Lobby, and I knew I had to put this on here. It comes out absolutely stunning. And guys, if you have been writing with me for any time, you know I have used TDS paper in past videos, and I love it. I always say, I have coined the phrase, it goes on like butter, baby. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. I love working with her paper. Brandi designed an awesome set of paper for decoupaging, and I absolutely love working with it. So what we're going to do on this board is we're going to take some white paint, and I'm just doing like a whitewash. I'm using a wet napkin. I do go in with a little bit of paint on a brush, and I'm wiping it down. And guys, by the time I got to this project, I was a little tired, okay? So I was not supposed to paint this handle in white, but for the life of me, I don't know why, I did. But off camera, because my camera did die too, heads up on that, you guys will see this one in the final reveal. And just FYI, stick around for the final reveal, because it is, I'm showing you the projects in between, but I want you guys to see them in the full staging, which usually I do at the end of each of my videos. So once I decided which one of the welcome prints I wanted, I'm just going out and I'm doing a fussy cut on it. I'm not using my water pen for this one because, again, I wanted to be very precise and fussy. I wanted to make sure I was capturing the details of this paper. And I'm going to do that all the way around, but I'm not going to put you guys through that torture of watching me cut it all the way out. So I did do that off camera for the majority, as you can see there. And just look at it already, guys. Look how it already blends in there. And I haven't put anything on here at all. I love working with this paper, and it sells out fast. So when she says it's up, you need to get over there to the website and order it ASAP. Okay, and I'm just going in with more of my Mod Podge and my sponge. Now, I will be, in this project, I will also be using some parchment paper, so you will see that as well. Now, one of our other challenges was we had to use something that didn't come from Dollar Tree, which I had did on majority of my projects. I only used one item from Dollar Tree, if I'm not mistaken, today. So everything else came from somewhere else that I had purchased it. But I am, like in the other projects, I'm just going around just making sure that those edges are nice and laid down. And now to seal this down, now this paper, guys, it did not need to be ironed, but what happened was, I guess it did need to be ironed, but not because it had a lot of wrinkles. I had folded the paper and set something on it, and it created a crease, a weird crease in it. So I just had to knock that out, and I just decided to put the parchment paper over it and show you guys another technique to smooth out those wrinkles. So yeah, so that's how we do that. And you have to wait, and I don't think I mentioned that, but if you're new to decoupaging, you have to wait for the first layer of Mod Podge to dry. You add your paper on, then you put the parchment paper over that, and that reactivates the Mod Podge, and that's what helps adhere it together. So, well, I wouldn't have said that because we didn't do that technique until now. Hello, somebody. Okay, so just take that as my, just X the first part of my statement there. Yeah. Okay. All right, so we're moving on. All right, so now I have these beads from Dollar Tree. I love them. Now, I'm telling you guys, I was tired here. So I was going to put them on as is. And then I didn't like the color. I was like, it doesn't match with the twine that I'm using. So I took them off of the jute string they were on. I'm going to put them on the same kind of twine that I put around the neck of this board. And this is where the camera decides to die, so you won't see this part. And then I decided, like, oh, well, let me start distressing before the camera completely shuts down. Oh boy, it was all over the place. And I tried to edit this to make it come together, guys. So all I can do is apologize to you right now. Because it is a big chunk of it missing out of here, and I do apologize, but I hope you guys get it. For the most part, this is what it looks like. I just go in off camera and darken up the handle so the handle matches the base part of it. But the distressing is just like I did on the vase. I just want to hit those edges. I do not want full on distressing. But what I did do was take some of my territorial beige paint with some white paint on a wet paper towel, and I got it as light as I could, and I did wipe that over the board just lightly, because again, I didn't want it to be distressed, more like a stain look. That's the best way I could describe it. It's more like a stain look. So, and I did that for the handle because right here you can clearly see how white the handle is up against the base part. And I don't know, guys. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know. But here it is finished, and you guys will see everything in the final reveal. Now we're on to our final project of today. I will be using some rice paper. Now we also had to use something other than a napkin to decoupage with. And so as you saw, I used the paper by TDS Designs, and then I also used this rice paper as well. And so I ordered this off of decoupagenapkins.com, and I love the vintage look of it. It's just so beautiful, and I love how transparent it was or is. And all I'm using from that sheet, it had a set of butterflies and then a dragonfly, and then it had the word spring. And so those are the 3 sections that I'm going to be using. As I did before, I'm going to take my water pen and I'm just going to outline the part that I want to keep. And I will say, even though this rice paper was quite transparent and it comes or appears to be super thin, it was very fibrous. And what I mean by that is, as I was separating it, some of the fibers were really difficult to extract or remove. So it was unusual for me. I had not encountered that before. It didn't hurt anything, but I just thought, oh, this was interesting. So it did take me a little bit longer to get everything separated. But again, I edit that so you did not have to go through the full process of me doing that. But I also tried to keep in a lot of it just so you guys can get familiar with it, how I use the water pen, and just how precise it can be because of the little tip. And I just love working with them. So once I get that outline, I'm just going to go ahead and start adhering that to the glass. And I am going to cover this entire glass in Mod Podge, and that is just going to create a frosted look. So you want to try to keep your strokes in the same direction as much as possible. In the end, you can't tell a whole lot, but you know, it's just better to try and keep them going in the same direction. And I even had to span out a little bit, but the end result, guys, I absolutely love the way this came together. And you guys have to let me know also if you have a favorite of today. I would love to hear from you guys. And if you are new here, I am one that absolutely love comments. So please, if you have any comments, tips, tricks, suggestions, whatever, I love the comments. I read each and every one, and I do love to chat with you guys after each and every video. So please, please, please do me a solid, leave me a comment and let me know how you feel about today's projects. Okay, now just like with the ceramic vase, we don't want to overdo it on the Mod Podge, because again, that Mod Podge has nowhere to go but through the paper or tissue or napkin or whatever you're working with. So next, I'm going in with some fairy lights that I purchased off of Amazon, and we have us a cute springtime lantern, guys. I love this, and I love anything with lights. Okay. So next, I went there, guys. I went there. So I had this little ruffle, I don't know if you want to call it ribbon or whatever. And I was like, oh, we're going to make us a ruffle lantern, a little tutu lantern. It's a tutu lantern. But no, it is a tutu lantern, but it just tied into another project that I had did a few videos back. And I was like, oh, this is going to look so cute next to each other. And that is it for this video, guys. This is the final reveal. I am so glad you guys stuck around till the end. And if you did stick around, should I say, thank you for sticking around to the end. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. And please consider subscribing, liking, sharing, and commenting. It would mean a lot to me. I am trying to grow my channel, and I would love to have you here as part of my YouTube family. So please consider doing so. And also, guys, don't forget to check out Brandi's channel in my description box below. Stop by and tell her I said hello. Give her a million kisses for me. She is a sweetheart of a person, so down to earth and funny. And just let her know that I'll be over to check her out in a minute, guys. And don't forget, let me know if you have a favorite of today. I love to know, you know, those type of things. And just look how beautiful everything came out. I hope you guys, if you've never tried decoupaging, that we have inspired you today to give it a try. And just know there's no right or wrong way to do it. You just have to do it and have fun while doing it. All right, lovies. Until the next video, be safe, be kind, and happy crafting your days away. And I also will have a playlist for you guys if you want to see more decoupaging on my channel. So check that out in my description box as well.